everyone, welcome to Kingdom Builder TV. I'm your host, Jay Heilman. Thank you so much for joining us today. My guest today hardly needs an introduction. He's joined us on here quite a few times on Kingdom Builder over the years. One of the earliest interviews that I did, even before I started this as an official podcast, was with him. And I'm pleased to welcome back Mr. John Waller with me today. John, how are you doing today, brother?
Good. Jay, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. It's always good catching up with you, having you on here. And the last couple interviews you and I have done have been via Zoom. So it's just proof and testimony that technology is changing to where we're not only hearing the interviews and stuff, we're actually seeing each other in real time, which is really cool.
Yeah, I imagine when we first started doing interviews together, we both looked a little bit younger than we do now.
Yeah, there was a lot less gray involved. I believe, well, with my, there was a little bit more weight. I've lost the weight over the years, and you still look young. You don't have that Buddy Holly look that you had on the Blessing record from 2007, but yeah, and I think the biggest difference between you and I talking back then in '07 compared to now is that between the two of us, we have 16 kids. So I think that is probably the biggest change. I think when I first met you, you and Josie had three, I had two, and now 17 years later, I have six, including a stepdaughter, and you have 10. So it's like we've got 16 kids between us. Did you ever think about, like, back then? Did you ever think, we had two and three? You ever think we'd have all these kids all these years later?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I thought maybe one or two more, but never that I would have 10.
The Lord
Never.
works in mysterious ways, brother.
Yeah, he does.
Well, I am excited. Once again, we're coming to a time where you have new music coming out, and over the last couple of years, you have released some singles and everything here and there. But this is actually your first full-length record that we'll be talking about since Explosions of Light, which was, I believe, what was that, 2017, 2016?
Yeah, something like that. It was,
It,
and that's one of those. That's one of those albums that I if as an artist, you look back and you're like, all right, what's the one record I regret? That's the one record I regret. I just, there's albums where I look back at The Blessing and I remember everything, that led up to that. I remember all the stories behind those songs. And that album just came out of a season where I was striving and trying to make things happen and keep things alive on my own strength. And yeah, so that was the last album before this current one. And I can happily say that with this new album, I am very proud of it. I'm very proud of what the Lord took me through to birth those songs, and so it's good to have an album that I can feel really good about again.
yeah, and this new record is really kind of it's kind of a departure from what you've done before. I mean, prior you had, with The Blessing, you had a couple guest vocalists on there. You had Mark Hall from Casting Crowns, Mark Miller from Sawyer Brown. Then you had your wife Josie sing on a song with you, the Marriage Prayer from the As For Me in My House record. But this one is really kind of, I look back on your career as a solo artist, and this one's almost like a full circle record because when you started in 2007, The Blessing, you were coming from a successful career with the indie rock band, According to John, and kind of working your way up to now to where this is a family project. And the new record is called Waller and Company, which I thought was cool. And this record offers something that none of your other records have done, whereas your family, your children, are now taking up their place musically and singing along, playing guitar and everything alongside of you. So tell us about this record and, how cool is it that your children are now involved in your music ministry?
Yeah, it's really cool because when we met back in, I guess we met in 2007 or something like
Yeah.
that. The three oldest, they were the only kids I had at the time. They were so young. But now it's the three of them, Bailey, Hadley, and Sophie, who, yeah, have really grown so much, and they're so gifted, and I love that people love hearing them with me, and um, yeah, and so, and honestly, all the kids were involved in the making of some of these songs, and I got a whole generation of younger kids coming up, so I will be I will be parenting children for the rest of my days, I think. But it is really cool,
With
to
you,
look.
man.
Yeah, and that's fine. Um, this album is just I love that, I hear, I guess, the fruit of my life through my children, coming through these songs, and yeah, I'm really proud of it, and honestly, I don't know what God's got in mind for it, but I know when people hear it, they're blessed, and the Lord moves, and that's, at the end of the day, that's the only thing that really matters to me anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've kind of done what you've done over the years. You've pretty much been able to do everything in Christian music. You know, you've had your songs like While I'm Waiting featured in films, and now it's almost like you're thinking, okay, it's the next generation that's going to step up. And I know you and I have had conversations about this over the years when I've heard tracks that, Sophie and Hadley have been a part of, like, wow, you've got some talented kids. The
Mhm.
apple doesn't fall far from the tree with this, and not with just with you, but Josie's very talented with singing too. So
Yeah.
you got the two talented parents, and you got kids coming from that. And I think, we've heard the tracks over the last couple of years. The one that you had put out last year that we talked about was Yeshua, the name, and I believe that was that Hadley that sang on that song with you?
Sophie.
Sophie. Okay, so Sophie sang on that one, and then you have your most recent one, Mama's Prayer, which is sounds a little different. It sounds almost like kind of country like compared to some of the stuff you've done.
Yeah.
Um, but I know that that song means a lot to you because going back to the As For Me and My House record, when you originally released that, you had, I believe, the 10 songs on there. And sadly, your mother had passed away after the release of that record. And
Mm.
you had released the song Heaven Just Got Better. But now, uh, goodness, we're 13 years. Your mom's been gone for 13 years now. And now you have this song Mama's Prayers. Uh, what was the inspiration on, coming back to this and, writing another song about your mom?
Well, I wrote Mama's Prayers not long after she passed away,
Oh,
and I
okay.
would sing it. I would sing it in concert, and it always moved people. And I just saw the instant connection, and there's certain songs like that that are just special, and they work every single time you sing them. So I had done a demo of the song back then, and I even threw it. I think I put it on. Gosh, I don't know if it was Crazy Faith album or if it was Explosions of Light, but I put it at the end of the record and released it, and it was just a demo. But I always wanted to do just a really legit recording of it, because I felt like it would appeal across the line, into the country genre. And so Bailey, my oldest son, he produced this version that I just released, and then Hadley and Sophie sang on it with me. But yeah, I mean, it's just reflecting back on my mom. She was amazing, and I wanted to honor her, and even my kids, my older kids remember her well, and she's had such an impact on them, and so I thought it would be a great timing to record it and put it out.
Yeah, and I never got a chance to meet your mom, but everything that I've heard about her, talking to you, talking to Josie over the years, she was an incredible woman. I almost feel that I know her from the stories that you guys have told, and uh, I know you've told me in the past that you wouldn't be who you are, and where you are today without her. And that's an incredible testimony to be able to sow uh, that much into somebody's life to where it's evident in everything they do now, which is amazing. So I love the song, and I love that it was kind of the sound wise, it was kind of a little bit different than what we've heard from you, but it was a great song nonetheless. But I think, after you sent me the new record, I was listening to these songs, and I think one of the songs that I like the most because we've heard Sophie and Hadley sing with you before, but the one that I really liked on this new record was Hold Me in Your Arms. It's a song that you really hear Bailey sing on this one, which I've heard him sing before, but it was really cool. And it's almost this full circle moment.
Mhm.
Hearing not only you in the song, but hearing your children, that was amazing. What's the process been like, recording with your kids?
Well, it's, I always talk about, when you think about um, learning a language, I think of music as a language, and I was kind of late learning music. Like I didn't, start at a young age learning an instrument. I started when I was, probably definitely in my teens. But for my older kids and for most of my kids, um, music is like their first language. So they speak it so fluently. So working with them on these songs was just so cool because they just have this musical sense and an ability to speak the language of music, more even in some ways more fluently than me. So my son Bailey, I remember I've always spoken to him and told him that one day he would be better than me. He would be a better songwriter, he would be a producer. He would do great things, and he is as he's doing that. And "Hold Me in Your Arms," he actually wrote that song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I I wrote the bridge, but I remember he was still living here. It was before he got married, and he was working on that music, and I was downstairs and I heard it, and I was like, "What is that?" And I came up here and I'm like, sat down and started listening to what he was producing, and he played it for me, and I was like, "Wow, I love this." And I was like, "I would really like to record this, and I would like to do it with you." And so we did, and he's doing great things, and he just gets it. It's fun to watch your children take something you've given them, and then they run with it, and they're actually better at it than you were. And that's never, I never feel jealous of that. I've never feel like, oh my gosh, I'm competing with my kids. No, I'm like, wow, I'm in awe. Like by all means, you be better than me. You do greater things than me, and that'll be the greatest joy of my life.
It makes you feel good, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does.
Yeah, because you look back, when we first met, our kids were young. I think Bailey was like 10. My
Yep.
oldest was like almost 8. And you kind of wonder when they're young, like, what are they going to be like when they're older? Are they going to do what I'm doing? And, I've got a chance to see that over the years, not only with my own kids, and unfortunately with my kids, they're not musically inclined. They don't like playing guitar or singing like I do. But they excel in other things. And I know for you, it's probably, it has to be amazing to just sit back and look and like see your kids following the same path that you did.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, that they're really not following the same path. It's a different path, and it's like I thought all three of them wanted to be an artist, and it seems like none of them want to be an artist like that. And it's not because they look at me and think, "Oh, I don't want to do what he did," but it's just they have a gift of music, and I know the Lord's going to use it, but it's going to look different than my path, and it needs to look different than my path. I mean, I know how hard it was to pursue the artist career, the artist path. It was a hard road, and that was back when you actually could, you know, once if you got an opportunity, you could monetize music, you could make a living, and you still can, but it's just harder than ever. And
The
and all,
landscape's totally different now.
oh God, it's so different.
It's not even the same. I mean, it's changed a couple times since you released your first solo records. So I think if anything, the kids are gonna have to work harder if this is something they're gonna do because there's so much, it's just so different.
It is, and you have to you have to really love social media. You have to really just be on it all the time, and all three of them do not like social media. They don't like promoting themselves. They don't like doing any of that stuff. And so I'm like, well, that may not be what the Lord has for them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so this new record, it's called Waller and Company. It's self-titled. It's not just John Waller. The record's actually Waller and Company, so it's a family project. Where can people get this music, and how can people support you in what you guys are doing with this?
Well, by the time people see this, they're going to have a link that you're going to make available to them. And people, I'm allowing people to buy the album directly from us just as a way to say that, we want to support your family and what you're doing directly. And then they can stream it if they want to stream it later. But I just feel like these days you gotta support your artists. You gotta support ministries. If what I do is a blessing to you, then by all means sow back into what I'm doing so I can keep doing it. And that's what I want to do with this album. Even though I know eventually it's going to all be on streaming, I still want to offer people the opportunity to sow into my ministry and download it directly from me.
Amen. Well, John, as always, it's a pleasure to have you on. I continue to pray that the Lord will continue to use this music and use you and your children now to be able to get that message of Jesus, that just the hope, the salvation, the grace, everything that you find only in Christ. And I just pray that, the Lord continues to bless you guys on that journey. And, it's for me, it's been such a pleasure and an honor to be a part of what you've been doing all these years. And, not just as an artist, but, as a friend too. I appreciate you and appreciate you coming on here today and joining us. And
Yeah,
Waller
man.
and Company going to be available here shortly, so keep an eye out for that link. It's music's phenomenal, and you're going to want to hear it because it's going to bless you, it's going to entertain you, and more importantly, it's going to lead you to Him.
Amen. Jay, thanks so much. It's always always fun talking to you, and you've always been one of my biggest supporters and cheerleaders. And even when I even when I didn't believe, you still believed in me, and I appreciate that.
Awesome.